Preparing to live stream. Redirecting to YouTube. Okay. Oh my goodness, can I? So my question is, hi everybody, okay, Judy, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my question is whether or not I can share my screen from this live screen. Let me see if I can. Nope. Okay. All right. I think I figured it out. Welcome everybody live stream. We're going to be letting folks into the room soon. Just right now, I'm trying to make sure the tech is running. So give me a minute. Okay, that looks good. All right.
Should I let people in?
Alita's here. I don't know who Potato is, so we'll see who they are when they come in. Welcome. Yes, let's let folks in.
Okay, so how do I find the waiting room? I'm already with the list of participants.
Okay, you have the participants?
Yeah.
Okay, let me make sure. Maybe I have not made you co-host yet.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, there. Now you're co-host.
Okay, now I can let them in. Okay.
All right, thank you. Good morning. Good morning.
Hi, Alita.
Hi.
Hi, Alita. Got folks connecting in. If you would be so kind to have your little hand hover over your name and right click. And if you do not have your name on there, please add your name so we can see who's with us. Welcome to those who are live streaming in as well.
And Sarah, still remember to record, right?
That is what I'm doing right. There we go. Recording's beginning now. So welcome. All right. Well, we have just about 10 minutes until folks, we start. So it's good to see everybody's face as you pop in.
I'll be back in a minute. I have to go turn off the oven on my peach pie. I'll be right back.
Okay. Ray is connecting to audio. Ken and Mary are connecting to audio. There's Ken and Mary. All right. All right. If your name is not showing, if you would like to rename yourself so we can see who is joining us. In order to rename yourself, you let your cursor or your hand hover over your name and right click. And then it should come up, rename at the bottom of that dialog box. All right.
Can we rename people or not?
That's a good question. If you don't know how to rename yourself, I can, I think. Judy, do you have ability to rename as well?
I will try.
It looks like we pretty much have everybody's name up at the moment. So great.
But maybe, let's see. Yeah, most people do have a name. That's
Yes.
right.
Judy Stout is co-hosting for us this morning, and she'll be watching the ins and outs of folks. So if you accidentally get kicked out, just come on back in and she will let you back in. So we are live on YouTube. We're recording our session together. We have about 6 minutes until our service begins. You see a table that is titled Celebration of Life for Alvin Stern. That is a table that has flowers you can't see very well. There's a picture of Alvin right there at the flowers in the white frame that has him rollerblading. It's a picture of him and his rollerblades. And then the one down front, kind of immediately down front from that and to the right is a picture of Alvin in his younger years. I don't know about you, but I sure see Emmett's face all over Alvin as I look at those. You see, Roy Stern has made his presence known in the chat through Tanya and Jeff. Welcome, Roy. There you are. Thank you. And welcome, Tanya and Jeff. I see how Forney's joining from Laverne area. Davin, where are you sharing from?
I'm sharing from my mom's house, and that's located in El Cajon area.
Okay, great. Welcome. Bob, where are you at? You're muted, so if you just push down your space bar, that often, you don't have a space bar. I'm reading lips.
Oh, we can't hear you, Bob. Here comes Carlene Tyler and Jim Sturm.
There, Bob. Okay, now we got you.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Good.
In New York State, I'm due.
New York. Welcome.
Here comes Alan.
Over.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone.
Hi, Alan. Where are you coming from? Hi, Alan. We can't hear you. Are you muted, Alan?
Yeah, got it.
Oh,
There
so
you go.
where are you coming from, Alan?
Guatemala City.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
All
We're trying to
right.
do it on the computer. I'm doing it on my phone because we're having trouble connecting on the computer.
And here comes Marcia.
All right. Well, the phone is working at the moment, Alan, so
Yeah.
great.
It'll work. It's just that it'll be hard to get all of us on the phone.
Yeah.
Greg
Yes,
So-
Ledoux, Greg Ledoux.
there's Pastor Greg. Okay.
Annie
Por lo menos puedo por mi
and
teléfono.
Byron.
No hay problema. Es por eso que quise chequear un poco antes, como, pero estamos bien. Hey, Uncle Bob. Hey, Uncle Bob.
Hey, brother. Good to see you, Alan. I'm writing to you. I'm not doing very good of it.
Sue Ann Johnson and Mr. Jason.
Right. All right.
Si todos están entrando ahorita.
Linda,
Pero tú puedes conectar con tu teléfono, me
Sí.
imagino, y así con Margarita, yo con este, no hay problema.
I'm not ready.
Así pueden
All
saber.
right. You might want to play with your mute button so you know how to turn that off and on in case you're going to be sharing a story during our story sharing time.
Don Stern,
All right.
I want to get rid of all this.
I see Emmett there. Hi, friend. And I think I'm seeing Alita and Adam to the sides there.
and
Of
Vicky,
course.
Vicky.
Yeah, we have about 27 people with us already, Linda, so you'll be seeing a lot of folks. If you want, if you're on a computer, sometimes if you want a gallery view to be able to see how, the variety, mine shows on the top right, it says view. You click on that and you'd be able to see different views. You could get a speaker view that keys in on whoever is speaking at that particular moment. And then you have the gallery that gives you everybody. If you have a gallery that has 25, I believe at one side or the other, there's a little caret that in my mathematical skills looks like a less than or a greater than sign. If you click on that, that'll take you from screen to screen. If you're on an iPhone, I think you just have to swipe away.
Here comes Rena McCarter.
Hi there.
All right. I think I'm going to look to Alita here just for a minute and see if you know of anyone else that might be joining that we should await.
I don't know about that
I
one.
think you can get started if you want to, and people can just join. I see all of my dad's brothers, so that's good, and some cousins. And I just want to say thank you so much for coming online today. And Davin, good to see you.
And maybe we should remind people to mute themselves unless they have something to say.
Thank you. Yes. Oftentimes there's ambient noise or sometimes feedback that it's helpful to have those who are speaking, have the room, so to speak, and then those who aren't to remain muted.
Just one quick
All right.
question. I don't see Arlen.
Is Arlen here?
Let me message him.
I think my dad told me he was going in person. I don't know for sure if that's true or not, but you can check.
He won't be here today, but I'll message him. I think he plans to be here now too.
Why don't we just use that, Davin, as a segue into inviting folks, if you're in the San Diego area or within driving distance this afternoon at 4, there will be an in-person reception at the courtyard of the Friends Center. And there'll be light refreshments. It is an outside gathering, but please feel free to mask if you would like to do that. The numbers in San Diego are rising. So we do want to be conscious of personal distancing, masking if you choose, and respecting the decisions of those who come. I myself will be masked, so if that helps or not, whatever. But I will be masking. So, all right.
I'm Don. Hi. I'm Don Stern in Lacey, Washington, and hope I'm tuned in on the memorial for Alvin.
Yes.
Is that right?
You got Dawn?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you nicely.
Good.
Yes, you can see, I don't know where it is on your screen, but it's mine. It's the upper left. There is a screen that says Celebration of Life for Alvin Stern. And this screen will be live for us throughout the entire time that we're together. It is some pictures and some of Alvin's memorabilia. I myself was noticing the cement smoother. I don't know the correct term, but I know I've seen him use that quite a few times out here on the Friends Center and on the church property. So feel free to focus there if you'd like to do that. All right. Well, I'm going to invite folks to mute. I hear a puppy.
Does somebody have a dog? Could they mute themselves?
I lost my screen on my phone.
Okay. Is that Alan?
I got it.
Okay, there you go. There you are. Hi, Alan.
Hi.
All right. Well, let's some more folk coming in. I think what we'll do is at this point, we'll just begin and welcome each and every one of you to this online celebration of the life of Alvin Stern. I already mentioned, but I will mention again for folks that are just arriving, that there will be an in-person reception and a little bit of a program, I think, this afternoon at 4 at 3850 Westgate Place in the courtyard of the Friends Center, which I almost could say Alvin built with the help of many others. But Alvin probably wouldn't want me to say that, so just forget I said it. It's a joy to be able to gather in this virtual format together. And as there's Arlen coming in. All right. As we gather, I invite you to keep yourselves muted and only mute when invited to speak. Pastor Greg Ledoux, who I think, if I'm hearing correctly, is recently retired from the United Methodist Church in San Carlos. And Pastor Greg was a pastor for both Alvin and Arda for about the last, 12 or so years as they participated in the United Methodist Church in San Carlos. So we welcome you, Pastor Greg, and are so glad to have you with us.
It's so good to be with you. Thank you, Pastor Sarah.
You're welcome. Happy retirement.
It's still something I'm trying on.
Yes, I will be joining you at the end of August. So we will try that on together. That'll be great. The service is also being live streamed and recorded. So you could see it on our on our YouTube page, San Diego First Church of the Brethren. You can see it there.
Can I add one thing?
Sure, Judy.
Okay, so for those of you who would like to see both screenfuls of all the people, You just take your cursor down to the middle, and there's a little arrow that allows you to click back and forth between the two full screens, for those of you who are curious about who all is here.
Right. All right. So we have family, friends, acquaintances from all over the world. And we are gathering here to celebrate the joy that Alvin brought to us and the life that Alvin shared with us. He was a dear father, dear dad, an amazing grandfather to the grandchildren, a faithful friend. And I was trying to remember, but I don't remember. Alita, did he have great grandchildren?
No.
No? Okay. Well, he was such a joyful person. So we'll just remember all that Alvin is to us. He's a part of our families. He's a part of our communities of faith. He's a part of our hearts forever. And as we grieve and as we remember, there are words of scriptures that ring in our hearts. You all probably have those scriptures that ring true for you as well. I remember, the words of Jesus today, you will be with me in paradise. I remember the words of Jesus, the well done, good and faithful servant. I remember the words of Jesus, I am the resurrection and the life. These scriptures, the twinkling of an eye, the sounds of the trumpet that welcome us into God's kingdom. Scripture comforts us in so many different ways. And one that I enjoy as well is one out of the Psalms 46. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore, we will not fear, though the earth should change, though the mountains shake in the heart of the seas, though its waters roar and foam, though the mountains tremble with its tumult. God is our refuge. And there's no doubt in my mind that our lives are shaken, have been shaken, and probably will continue to be shaken. Our experiences on this earth are changed forever. The mountains of our love, the mountains of our relationships are trembling, and the waters of the earth are foaming, and the waters are sharing love that stream down our cheeks as our love and grief is released in tears. Yet while our hearts are heavy and our spirits are sad, we know God's presence is with us. We know that each day we grieve and our loss is real. We know that God's love moves in our midst. Let us hear this powerful song entitled Move in Our Midst. It's sung by a quartet. And as I switch to the slideshow, there we go, seeing Alvin's wonderful face and that smile that continues. The quartet is Susan Sanner, Linda K. Williams, Arlen Stern, and John Mortimer. Let's share in our opening hymn. If by chance you can't hear because maybe I don't have the settings correct, just, give me a thumbs down or something. All right, let's share in our hymn together. Okay. I'm not hearing a thing. Are you all hearing anything? Okay. So Here's our
It's-
first glitch.
It started and then stopped.
Okay. Let's try again. All right, I'm going to scoot back. Here we go. Right. Not hearing anything, right?
Yep, we're hearing. Good. Oh. We lost it. It's back again. Still gone.
Maybe we should just sung it. Okay, it's definitely a technical thing, and it's definitely, I'm going to stop the share, and I'm going to check it out, and I'm going to try one more time. And
When it stopped, it might have just been buffering, so you just need to wait a second and see if it comes back and not shift forward.
okay, and the other thing that you all need to know is I can't hear it. So you need to let me know when it's done. Let's try it one more time. Hearing it.
It's finished.
Thank you. As we recognize God in our midst, I invite Pastor Greg to share with us in prayer.
Once again, it's a joy to be with you this day as we celebrate Alvin's life. It was such a joy to greet them every Sunday morning, as I know they worshiped in both places every Sunday. And I miss them both greatly. Will you pray with me? Eternal God, we praise you for the great company of all of those who have finished their course in faith and now rest from their labor. We praise you for those dear to us who we take a moment now to name in our hearts who have gone before us. And we especially praise you for Alvin, whom you have graciously received into your presence. To all of these, grant your peace. Let perpetual light shine upon them and help us so to believe where we have not seen, that your presence may lead us through our years and bring us at last with them into the joy of our home, not made with hands, but eternal in the heavens. Through Christ our Lord, we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Let's share together in a poem entitled Miss Me, But Let Me Go, as read by Alan Stern.
Miss Me, But Let Me Go by Betty Miller. When I come to the end of the road and the sun is set for me, I want no rights in gloom-filled rooms. Why cry for a soul set free? Miss me a little, but not too long, and not with your head bowed low. Remember the love that we once shared. Miss me, but let me go. For this is a journey that we all must take, and each must go alone. It's all part of the Master's plan, a step on the road to home. When you are lonely and sick at heart, go to the friends we know, and busy your sorrows in doing good deeds. Miss me, but let me go.
It's finished.
Thank you. I invite us to share in a eulogy that's presented in a slideshow that Alita has put together and is narrating. It is an amazing trip through Alvin's life, which I have learned so much more about Alvin in this time together. So let's enjoy together this slideshow for Alvin Stern.
Alvin Laverne Stern was born on Sunday, July 16th, 1933. He was born at home and was the 9th child of Reverend Roy E. Stern and Ethel Maud Fike Stern. He grew up on a farm in the rural part of Chickasaw County in the town of Fredericksburg, Iowa. His father was a Church of the Brethren preacher, and his mother, a former school teacher, was a homemaker. Life on the farm was busy, started early, not only in regards to the time of day, but to one's age. On the Stern family farm, your chores often depended not only on your age, but your gender, and if someone older than you was moving on to another job because someone older than them was leaving home. Alvin had many jobs while growing up on the farm, feeding the chickens, hogs, and cows, taking care of the cattle and horses, working in the field, and milking the cows were just a few of the jobs he did over the years. Life wasn't always easy, and sometimes you missed out on special occasions like a sibling's wedding because of your chores. And being one of many children meant a lot of sharing in hand-me-downs, but it also meant almost always having someone to pal around with. Alvin was close to all of his siblings, even though the age range was vast. His oldest sibling was 17 years older than him, and his youngest siblings were 2, 16, 17, and 19 years younger than him. This close family bond was something that could be seen throughout the Stern family siblings' lives and is something that they passed down to all of their children. Alvin attended country school where the schoolhouse happened to be just across the road from the family farm. He even had one of his older sisters as a teacher once. He had fun playing ball and spending time with friends. He also enjoyed 4-H, where he raised many cows for projects. As Alvin got older, and it seems to me, his family ran out of children to take on the tasks of farming, it was decided that he would stop school in the middle of 9th grade and help his father on the farm full-time. While I know my dad was happy to help his father in this way, he did have a teacher ask if he could continue shop class or woodworking, but his father said no. While I know this disappointed my dad, he did find ways to continue this passion throughout his life. A strong work ethic and honesty were other things that his family taught him, and in turn he passed on to his family. Working on the family farm with his father wasn't always fun or easy, but I know how much my dad enjoyed that one-on-one time with his dad, and how much his father, while I don't know that he said it very often, appreciated Alvin's good work. However, there were occasions where even with good work intentions, accidents would happen, and Alvin would have many accidents over his lifetime. One of the first ones he would talk about was a runaway tractor while he was working on the farm. Maybe driving a little faster than he should have been, after unhitching a broken spreader, he hit a rock or a hole and went flying off the back. The tractor then, running in 5th gear, went flying with no one behind the wheel, finally ending up in a ditch with a broken axle. While my dad may have not finished school, he had a mind for engineering and figuring out how things worked. I remember as a child when I was learning my multiplication and division, how my dad could rattle those tables off and figure out math problems in his head without much effort. Alvin stayed in touch with his classmates, and they would include him in class gatherings when he happened to be back in town. In the past few years, he and his remaining classmates would keep in touch on the phone or through letters. My dad enjoyed these conversations and putting his brain to work remembering events and people from his past. In March of 1944, Alvin's mother passed away. He was 10 years old, and while he never talked about this much, I am sure it left a hole in his life. However, having so many siblings meant that there was a sister that would make sure you got to school on time, finished your homework, took a bath, etc. In June of 1948, when Alvin was almost 14, his father remarried. Roy E. Stern and May Lehman added 3 more brothers to the Stern family over the following 4 years. Alvin and his younger brother Roy were often responsible for helping care for their 3 younger brothers. Especially on the weekends if their dad was away preaching, Alvin and Roy were left in charge of the youngest 2 brothers. It was during one of these occasions on a Sunday in March of 1954 when Alvin and his younger brother Roy were left to watch at least 2 of their younger brothers. They were invited to a family friend's house for lunch. This family friend had been telling my dad about a young woman he thought he should meet and finally made it happen. During this visit, Alvin met his future wife, Ardith Ann Nolte of Waverly, Iowa. When my dad would talk about this encounter, he always made it sound like it was love at first sight for him. I believe a few days after this meeting, or maybe even on the way home, he told his brother Roy he planned to see Ardith again soon. Alvin and Ardith started dating shortly after this encounter. Most of their dates consisted of drives in the car and conversations that helped them get to know each other better. But they also spent a lot of time with each other's families, picnics, attending each other's churches, and other special occasions. Alvin would often arrive home late at night after visiting Ardith and have to get up very early the next morning to start chores. While driving home tired one night after visiting, he fell asleep at the wheel and bounced off a guardrail of a bridge, which luckily woke him up, and he was not seriously injured. Alvin and Ardith learned they had many similarities: their strong faith and love for their family, the joy of music, especially singing, appreciation for the outdoors and beauty around them, and being able to enjoy the simple things in life. While Alvin and Ardith were dating, Alvin made the decision in June of 1955 to enroll in alternative service under provision of the National Selective Service. This decision was consistent with the traditions of his Brethren upbringing, and after 2 months of training in New Windsor, Maryland, his 2-year enlistment through the Brethren Volunteer Service, or BVS, started on a dairy farm in Falfurrias, Texas. There, he drove a school bus to transport people to and from church, worked in the field, remodeled and made repairs to houses and buildings, and helped build a church in Corpus Christi, Texas. After a year in Texas, he was transferred to Chicago, Illinois to complete his service and worked as a receiving clerk at Wesley Memorial Hospital. Alvin and Ardith were engaged on December 2, 1956, and in February of 1957, Ardith moved to Chicago to be closer to Alvin while he completed his service. Alvin made lifelong friends while in BVS. And similar to his classmates, over the past few years, Alvin enjoyed making phone calls to some of his BVS friends and reminiscing about the work they did together. Alvin and Ardith were married on June 9, 1957, in Waverly, Iowa. After their wedding, they honeymooned in the Wisconsin Dells and then returned to Chicago and started their life there together. In April of 1958, they moved back to Iowa to live on the family farm where Alvin grew up. Here, they raised their 4 children. Our parents taught us the value of hard work and a good work ethic, and that all members of the family needed to contribute. So much like our parents, we all learned at a young age to lend a hand. Like his father before him, Alvin's faith in God was never a question. Alvin and Ardith passed their strong faith on to their children. The church was always of great importance throughout Alvin's life and ours. Being of service to others and treating everyone as a neighbor were things that Alvin's family taught him and that he and my mom taught us. In addition to farming, once back in Fredericksburg, Alvin took a job at Miner's Creamery in the evenings. This was his least favorite job he ever had. He also started doing construction and then stopped farming to start his own business, Stern Sales and Service, in 1964. He sold, serviced, and installed automated farm machinery from Clay Equipment Corporation and Pat's Corporation. My dad was not a boastful person, but I know that he was proud of the work that he did and loved to talk about his different job sites. While this work could be dangerous, especially when he was working many feet up in the air, on a belt leg, or in a silo, he enjoyed it. He was not a person that feared heights. Even after falling 30 feet from a grain leg when a flange broke and he landed on the seat and steering wheel of a tractor and walked away with only some bruised ribs. He would even go back later that day after seeking medical attention, now working 80 feet in the air, to make sure he wasn't going to be afraid to climb and work that high up. He won many sales awards from Clay and Pat's, and I always found this interesting since my dad did not fit the typical stereotype of a salesman. He was not a pushy person, but I think what made him successful at sales are the same things that made people like him so much throughout his life. He was a people person and he liked to talk. He was an honest person that people knew they could trust, and he was a hard worker with a work ethic that people admired. The accident I mentioned earlier and the visit to the doctor to check him out would be the first time Alvin would hear he had problems with his lungs. After x-raying his chest, the doctor told him he had black lungs and needed to stop smoking. Alvin never smoked a day in his life, which they had a hard time believing. But his work in the silos, getting silo gas, having chemical pneumonia, or driving around with district sales managers in their cars while they smoked with the AC on, helped cause the bronchial asthma and sinus problems that eventually would force Alvin to move to California. Alvin ran his own business, with Ardith doing all of the bookkeeping until the summer of 1980, when he and Ardith moved their family to San Diego, California, due to Alvin's failing health. My dad took a year to close down his business and sell it. This last year turned out to be the busiest year, having more work than could possibly get done by himself and the workers he employed. My oldest brother, Alan, took a year off from college to help with all the jobs, and Arlen, my other brother, then a senior in high school, worked as much as he could on weekends and nights to get all the work done. My dad's job kept him very busy and very tired. My dad could live up to his last name and be very strict and reserved at times. He worked hard, held himself to a high standard of work product, and expected those that worked with him and for him to do the same. He expected his children to be well behaved, and he did not tolerate backtalk. Usually, with just a look, we knew we had better stop whatever we were doing or do something differently, or we would be in trouble. But he also had a fun side and enjoyed making people laugh. I think this is the side most people saw and experienced with Alvin. He was always up for an adventure, willing to try new things, and never the one to shy away from a difficult hike, and liked getting as close to the edge as possible to see the view. Alvin always made time for his family. He loved to spend time with his siblings, his in-laws, and his nieces and nephews. Even though he had over 30 nieces and nephews, he knew all of them and loved to joke with them at family gatherings. He kept in close contact with many of them, especially after Ardith passed away. Family gatherings were always something to look forward to. And if you were on a trip or just passing through, you always made a stop to visit a family member if you were even remotely close by. Whether the family gatherings were happy or sad or just happened spur of the moment, they were always treasured memories. Alvin loved his children. And his grandchildren. And wanted to be a part of their lives. When some of his children decided to move out of state or out of the country, the time he got to spend with them and their families was something he cherished. He made many trips with Ardith to Michigan and Guatemala to see his daughter and son and their families. Later, when dialysis made traveling impossible, he looked forward to and cherished the visits and phone conversations he would have with them. My dad was always eager to play with his grandchildren. Hold them, sing to them, watching them learn and play and trying to share some words of wisdom along the way. Often it was just showing them how things worked or sharing an appreciation of nature but occasionally I know there were some words of encouragement or advice on how to live a better life, too. Alvin loved his wife, Ardith. They were married for 63 years, and they shared many adventures together. They traveled through over 40 states, made a trip to Mexico in 1971, visited Canada, and as I mentioned before, made many trips to Guatemala. However, I think their biggest adventure was the move to California. Leaving behind the life they knew so well, family, friends, it wasn't easy. But it was the best thing they could have done for Alvin's health, and I know they did not regret it. Alvin always seemed to be working on a project. When he lived in Iowa, he built a building to house his machinery and the family cars. He added an addition onto the family house and did maintenance projects on the farm when he would go back to visit. Sometimes he even let his kids help. Alvin enjoyed working for himself, so when he moved to California, he found construction and carpentry work here and there. He did not have a regular 9-to-5 job after moving to California, but he kept himself very busy. He did cement jobs, carpentry, and various construction jobs for neighbors and others by word of mouth. He volunteered his time at the church, built homes with Habitat for Humanity, helped construct the San Diego Friends Center from bottom to top, a straw bale built building that he and many others volunteered many hours and years to complete. When he visited his children, a sibling or in-law, or a friend, and there was a project that he could do or lend a hand with, he was happy and excited to help out. Alvin's health did improve, and even though asthma and later lung disease would be something he lived with for the rest of his life, he enjoyed his life to the fullest. He filled his spare time with outdoor activities like rollerblading, throwing horseshoes, hiking, and walking. Alvin loved people and enjoyed spending time with his friends. He knew all of his neighbors, and that didn't mean just the people that lived next door, but people all the way around and up and down the block. When Ardith retired in 2006, they were able to spend more time together with their family, their extended family, and their friends. They drove back to Iowa many times and would visit family and friends throughout the Midwest. Anywhere that Alvin and Ardith went, they would try to be sure and visit as many family members or friends that they might be able to along the way. Since my dad was part of such a large family, this wasn't a hard thing to do. Alvin attended the Church of the Brethren in Iowa and was a member there until he moved to San Diego. He then joined the Church of the Brethren in San Diego and was a member there for almost 42 years. Alvin was also an active member at the San Carlos United Methodist Church for over 12 years. He was a deacon for the Church of the Brethren. He served on the board for many years. He was part of search committees when they were looking for new pastors, and volunteered many, many hours of his time and work on various projects for the church and the church grounds. As I mentioned before, Alvin enjoyed singing, and he was in the church choir for most of his life. He would often sing O Holy City, Jerusalem at Easter time in Iowa and in San Diego. He liked the fellowship of his church family. He helped in the kitchen occasionally would often do the dishes after a church meal, and was always available to act as a taste tester. Asthma was a health problem my dad lived with for almost 50 years, and many other health issues followed, like kidney stones, arthritis, bad knees, heart problems, and then kidney failure, which had him on dialysis for the past almost 5.5 years. But through all of these things, my dad always had a positive attitude and a will to make whatever came his way work out. When I took my dad to the ER almost 2 months ago now, I had no idea that there would be yet another health issue thrown his way. Finding a mass in his colon and being told that surgery could be an option, there was never a question that he wouldn't do it. His faith in God and his faith in the doctors didn't allow him to think things might not turn out well. And if there hadn't been complications to his recovery after a successful surgery, I truly do believe that we would be celebrating his 89th birthday with him today. The loss of my dad has been difficult, but I try to focus on the happy memories I have with him. When I am rollerblading around Lake Murray each week, I remember how when we would go together, I could never go faster than him, even though he was 38 years older than me. When I run up Cowles Mountain and I think I don't have it in me today to run all the way to the top, I think of my dad and how even on days he might not have felt up to the challenge of what life was throwing his way, he just kept going and made it the best he could. Alvin had a kind smile, was a friend to all, and never, to my knowledge, spoke badly of anyone. He was a thankful person. He would often tell me that he thanked God every night for good neighbors and wonderful friends. He would thank people for calling and checking in on him. He would always thank me for coming over and helping him out so he could remain living at home alone. And he would always tell me to be sure and tell Adam and Emmett thank you for sharing me so that I could do that for him. He did this even though I would tell him every time he didn't need to because I was happy to help him. I rarely heard my dad complain. In fact, that was the only way I ever knew for sure that he wasn't feeling well. It just wasn't in his nature to get mad or angry about things. Instead, he met the challenges thrown at him with a positive attitude and trying to figure out how to make his life work around whatever nuisance came his way. When he had stents put in his heart, his first question to the doctor was how soon could he get back to rollerblading. When his knees were partially replaced, he did his exercises and worked out at the gym to get stronger. When he went on dialysis, he didn't think his life was over. He just found different ways of doing the things he enjoyed within the limitations he now faced. I will always remember my dad's sense of humor, his strong, calloused hands, his positive attitude, and his lust for life. We know our dad is in a better place where he is no longer suffering any pain. We appreciate all the love and support our family, church family, and friends have given us through Alvin's month and a half in the hospital and the months leading up to today. Our faith helps us know that Alvin and Ardith are together again. Alvin is with his parents and his siblings that have gone before him, and now they are experiencing that twinkle in his eye and his wonderful smile again.
It's finished.
Thank you.
Finished.
What an amazing life. Really, all of those joys that just come together in that short 25-minute slideshow. As I was watching you watch it, there were so many nodding heads and smiles that reflected Alvin's smiles in the picture, and the joy that was there reflected in your faces as you watched that. Thank you. I chose a scripture for this service that might seem a little unconventional, but for me, it encapsulated Alvin in so many ways. For those of you who are Church of the Brethren or familiar with the Church of the Brethren, you will recognize this particular text. It comes from John 13. Just before the Passover feast, Jesus knew that the time had come to leave this world and go to the Father. Having loved his dear companions, he continued to love them right to the end. It was supper time. The devil by now had Judas, son of Simon Iscariot, firmly in his grip, all set for the betrayal. Jesus knew that the Father had put him in complete charge of everything, that Jesus came from God and was on his way back to God. So he got up from the supper table, set aside his robe, and put on an apron. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the feet of his disciples, drying them with his apron. When he got to Simon Peter, Peter said, "Master, you wash my feet?" Jesus answered, "You don't understand now what I'm doing, but it will be clear enough to you later." Peter persisted, "If you are not going to wash my feet, ever." And Jesus said, "If I don't wash you, you can't be part of what I'm doing." "Master," Peter said, "not only my feet, then wash my hands, wash my head." Jesus said, "If you bathed in the morning, you only need your feet washed, and you're clean from head to toe. My concern, you understand, is holiness, not hygiene. So now you're clean, but not every one of you." He knew who was betraying him. So after he had finished washing their feet, he took his robe, put it back on, and went back to his place at the table. Then he said, "Do you understand what I've done to you? You address me as Father and teacher and master, and rightly so. That is what I am. So if I, the master and teacher, wash your feet, you must now wash each other's feet. I've laid down a pattern for you. What I've done, you do. I'm only pointing out the obvious. A servant is not ranked above his master. An employee doesn't give orders to the employer. If you understand what I'm telling you, act like it and live a blessed life." This is a text that might seem a little odd, as I said, but it's the first time I'm using this in this kind of a context. But it seems so fitting for Alvin. In the Church of the Brethren, we understand this as a servant text. Alvin was a deacon here at the church. And as a deacon, it was his responsibility for helping create the sacred space that we use for our love feast that's described there in John 13. He served as one who provided the meal. He set up the basins and the towels. He made a sacred space for worship. One of the things, if you talk to the deacons, one of the things that you'll hear stories of Alvin's warm hands and how we always needed Alvin's hands to make the bread because of the warmth. I don't know if he had warmer hands than anybody else, but his gift of presence and his gift of servanthood in the preparations for our love feast were amazing. There are over 800 references to servant in the biblical texts. 50 of them, only 50 of them, are found in the Christian Bible, the New Testament. In the eulogy that Alita shared, you saw and you heard of the many ways that Alvin washed the feet of those he knew as a humble servant. He served with a smile. He served with that joy that he found deep within himself as a follower of God. In his actions and his willingness to serve, you see God's life and love alive. There's a song, it's entitled The Servant Song. And the first verse goes like this. Will you let me be your servant? Let me be as Christ to you. Pray that I may have the grace to let you be my servant too. This is the song that comes to mind when I think of Alvin. Asking wherever he could, will you let me be your servant? And most of the time in that asking, he was inviting others along on the journey of servanthood. He didn't act alone. He responded to the need of others and answered their call for him to help. And he brought them in, helping as well. We are pilgrims on a journey. We are travelers on the road. We are here to help each other walk the mile and bear the load. We walked together. Alvin shared phone calls and cards and conversations, and just a helping hand with so many people. I suspect many of you received Alvin's care in a phone call, a card, a helping hand. When COVID hit in 2020, the church developed a phone care system where everyone was in touch with at least one other person. I was on the receiving end of Alvin's weekly calls. We would talk of congregation. We would talk of what he was finding to do around the house. We would talk of, I think, everyone in the church at one point or another, because it seemed like he was always in contact with somebody through the phone. His card ministry was another way that he shared as a part of his service to God. And I think that probably closer to the end of his life became very meaningful as he shared family cards. I remember in April, I got a family birthday card from he and Alita and Adam and Emmett. It was a family affair for him. It was beautiful. Family was so much a part of his life, as you saw in the slideshow. I will hold the Christ-like for you in the nighttime of your fear. I will hold a hand out to you, spread the peace you long to hear. God's love and service demonstrated in a towel and a basin, reaching out in times of uncertainty, reaching out in times of fear, reaching out in times of need. They come alive so often in Alvin's life. Alvin's love for God, family, and neighbor. His energy, the zest he had for life. I forgot he was a rollerblader. His call to service, his sacrifice, his sacrificial giving, his laughter, that glint in his eye, his smile, his friendship for all, his love for family. All of this in service to his Lord. I believe Alvin heard those words, "Well done, you good and faithful service as he entered into the house of the Lord on May 25th, late that evening. Today is Alvin's birthday. Today is a day where we celebrate his birth on this earth in so many different ways. It's the day of celebrating his birth here on earth, and it's also the day to celebrate his birth in the kingdom of God. Today we remember, we celebrate the joy he brought and continues to bring. Today we celebrate and remember his life. We also celebrate the day he was born into God's kingdom. As I conclude my reflections, I thank God for the life of this amazing Christian man, joyful, loving. May he not only live eternally in God's presence, but may he also live in our lives. And may we know and follow in God's footsteps as we remember in our lives and reflect Alvin, and following in Alvin's footsteps as Alvin follows God. When we sing to God in heaven, we shall find such harmony, born of all we've known together. That's very out of tune there, so apologize for that. Of Christ's love and harmony. Alvin would have sung that much, much better because he loved his music and he loved his God. Will you let me be your servant? Let me be as Christ to you. Pray that I may have the grace to let you be my servant too. Thank you, Alvin, for being that Christ-like, for joining us in the pilgrimage of faith, for shining so brightly in our lives together. We will continue with our service together as we hopefully move here from this slide. There we go. To share in a song, I Come to the Garden Alone, sung by Susan Sanner.
I come I'd stay in the garden with him, though the night around me be falling. But he bids me go through the voice of woe. His voice to me is calling. And he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known.
It's finished.
Thank you. There are many memories that you have to share. And we'd like to do some storytelling and celebrating of Alvin's life. I'm going to invite some family members to share stories. And then we have a couple of friends that have been invited to share stories. So I'm going to come off of this share so that we can see each other's faces and hear each other's stories. So we have Don and Roy and Bob and Jim that have said that they would like to share a story. So I'm just maybe, can we go in that order? Don, Roy, Bob, and Jim?
Sure.
All right, there you go.
Sarah, I don't know if they all want to speak, but I know that if they want to, I wanted to give them the opportunity.
Okay, there you go. So not to put you on the spot, you don't have to tell a story, but we thought that you might just have a short story to share. All right, so Don, do you have something you'd like to share?
Well, I want to thank you and Alita for that marvelous video and your preaching or your sermon. You touched on so much of Alvin's life, I know, in that time. One of the comments I spent hours thinking about Alvin. I'm 10 years older, about. But I remember so well, as each of us in the family grew up, we were assigned tasks to be a part of the family work at a very early age, like keeping the wood box filled with wood by the kitchen stove and those things. But Alvin was always eager to move on to the next job, and he chose more difficult jobs, each case more sophisticated. But what I remember so well, and you mentioned that I was in college and went home because I was on the way to serve a summer pastorate as a student. And I got there, my next brother, older, was there already. I think he'd been down to Iowa City and working on his master's degree or something. But anyway, he was worried. He said Alvin had filled the manure spreader, cleaning up the stockyard, and had the tractor hitched to it and took off at age 11, we knew. And that was his nature, always ready to get something. But he sped off with that tractor, and Russell said, it's been way over an hour, and it's only a 2-mile round trip to go to the back 40 and spread it. I think something's happened. And we invited him to jump in the pickup with him, and we sped off down the east road. And when we got just over a half a mile, we found Alvin sitting in Hugh Adams' drive into his field, and he was there alone. Russell said to him, "What happened, Alvin?" Oh, Alvin said, I was coming, I was on my way home from spreading the field, and he said the grader had come by and made a furrow of a ridge, and the tractor hit that. And the front, he said, I was going the full speed, which we knew was 19 miles an hour on that farm haul tractor. And he bounced off, he said, I was so lucky I didn't get run over by the spreader. And then he said, and I'm fine. He said, I didn't get hurt at all. And he was so grateful. Well, we could see where the tractor had gone into the ditch and through the barbed wire fences, that one, and on down the road through another one, or the way, and sped off about another half mile back to a slight indentation of a creek, and rammed the front wheels into the other bank and broke the bolster for the front wheels. But we were also grateful. But it was amazing to me. That was only one bump in Alvin's life. But like on that bump, he was very positive. And he wasn't hurt, he said. And he was thankful. And he jumped up and he was ready to go with us. So I just share that story. It was the nature of his. And you were right when you mentioned that there were other bumps in his life. And I could go into some of those, but we've heard a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. And I will say that perhaps at the end of this time together, we can leave the Zoom room open a little bit more if folks want to hear more of what might be shared. So thanks, Don. Roy, I'm going to go and look and see if you want to share something short.
Yes, Alvin was a singer, and he was convinced that the cows always gave more milk when he would sing to them. And I also kind of felt that one of the cows must have talked to our pastor that was there one night and said, if he's going to sing to us, why doesn't he go and take music lessons from your wife so he'll sing better? Now, not that he wasn't a good singer, he was, but I just figured the animals had something to do with his improvement of his music. Alvin was a very hard worker. He was a good manager. I was 2.5 years younger than him, and so I worked hard too, but because he was the initiator of it and motivator of it. And we would go out and in the field, and the combine would be going, the hay baler or straw baler would be going, and we would be loading the bales. He would throw them on the wagon and keep the tractor going straight while I would stack them on the wagon. At the same time, they would be loading oats. So we'd be doing 2 or 3 things at one time. And that was really under his management. That's what he was a young adult after he had quit school. Alvin and I had many times together, good times. But I remember that of him and wanted to share of it. His singing, he was a good singer, but he sang on the farm. About anything he'd be doing, you could find him singing as well.
That's great. Multitasking before we even knew multitasking was a word, right? Thank you. Thank you. All right. Bob, you're next on my list. I don't know that you have anything to share, but you're welcome to if you do. You need to come off mute. There you, whoops, now you're back on again. There you go. Now you're back on again.
He was really good at that. So anyway, yeah, I do have much to share, but I want to thank you all for participating today. It's been a real blessing to be involved. And before I can remember, Alvin would hold me up. You saw some pictures on the video of Alvin holding up.
Yeah, that was you?
He held up his own son, but I was the one he held up. And he always said my other younger brother, Jim, you'll be hearing from in a moment, was too wiggly. He couldn't hold him up, but I guess I was still enough I could name. Anyway, Alvin was the kind of man who always challenged us to be better. And I remember standing on the steps at the church, and he said, "I'll give you a nickel if you can stand still for a minute." Of course, I couldn't. And the real thing I want to share about Alvin was the summer after my first year in college and didn't have a job. Alvin invited me to the farm to work for him, installing farm equipment, and to get to know his family better, to bond with his kids, and to really feel the love of a brother that he was for me. I'll never forget that summer. It has ups and downs for me because I'm not a mechanical kind of a guy, and he put up with a lot that summer with me. But I'm just really thankful for Alvin and his contacts with me through the years. He came to visit us when we were on furlough in the city of Corning, and spent a good a week at least with us. We went to another town called Elmira where Mark Twain had a museum. He just loved that. So there was give and take. We had a good time together. And those are some of my memories, but certainly not all. I hold Alvin in my heart. Thank you for
Thank you. Thank you, Bob. This really emphasizes Alvin's family, right? Inviting you there to continue to get to know him and his family. All right, so I think that lets Jim.
Well, again, I just also want to just say how much I appreciate you, Sarah, and Alita, and all those who have made this an amazing time to remember our dear brother, Alvin. Alvin held a very, very special place in both my and Anna's heart. There's so many things to share. Way back when I was young, kind of a really funny story, and maybe it is not funny to everybody, but it stuck in my mind that we were sitting around the dinner table when I was, I don't know, under probably 10 or under, and I said, "Please pass the butter." And does anybody know what he said? "It's not butter, it's oleo." I never forgot that. I don't know why that stuck with me, but he wanted to make sure maybe it had to do with his background in the creamery, but when we were married in Anderson, Indiana, he made a point to, what did he bring his camper? He brought his camper and his whole family to celebrate our wedding with us. And that was very, very important and special. We had other wonderful opportunities to just intersect with Alvin and his family. But the last thing is just in very recent years, or really months in the last year, Alvin started calling me. And about a year and a half ago, I got a call from Alvin, and I was so surprised, and he just was so encouraging. And then we'd call back and forth, but if I didn't call in a week or two, he would give me a call, and I just appreciated that so much. And as all of you probably have figured out, I'm number 13, and it would be easy to forget the youngest, the last guy, but Alvin never forgot. Neither did any of my other siblings, and I just feel so blessed to be part of the Stern family. And by the way, I always considered myself to be lucky 13.
That's what I was just going to say. Lucky 13. That's wonderful. All right. So then I think we may have a couple of friends. I should look at Alita and say the names that you give me. Did they definitely say yes before I announce it?
I know Ken said yes. I'm not sure about Byron, and I don't think that Till is on. So he'll
Okay.
make it later today if he comes in person.
Okay, great. So there you go. I think Ken and Byron, if you're still on, I'm looking.
Yes, this is Ken. I'm
All
here.
right, Ken, go.
Yes, I'm Ken Ashbacher. I've known Alvin for all 42 years that he's been in San Diego, and we were co-members of the Church of the Brethren, and did a lot of things together. We were both deacons, and well, one thing that Sarah mentioned was Alvin's warm hands in making communion bread. And we are scheduled to make communion bread, I believe, next week. And we are going to miss his warm hands. And he was always so good at kneading the bread. Alvin and I worked together for 7 years in building the Friends Center on the property there at the Church of the Brethren in San Diego. And it was a big project that we didn't know if we should take it on, but we did, and finally completed it. And we really appreciated the knowledge that Alvin had in building, because we just couldn't have done it without his skill and his knowledge, particularly, well, as I remember in the early part of it, the concrete work. Alvin knew how to do concrete work, and just making forms and making curves. This building has a lot of curves in it, and doing that, he knew how to do it. And while our building manager would try to figure out how, he would be in the office figuring out just how we're going to do the next step. Well, when he came out with his answer, Alvin would already have it done. So well, he was skillful at that. One day we poured concrete, and it was a December day, cold and kind of wet. I think it had been raining, but we still poured concrete for the main round room of the building, and the concrete would not set up. It just didn't have the right conditions of the day for it to set up properly. And we kept trying to float it down and level it out, but it wouldn't set up, and there's nothing we could do to make it any faster. And the day went on, and finally in the evening we realized we had to go to a deacons meeting that evening. We were supposed to meet somebody's house for a meeting. So we went to the deacons meeting. We quit our work and went to the deacons meeting, and which got done about 9 o'clock. And we came back at 10 o'clock and finished troweling the concrete at night under floodlights, because it was finally to the consistency where we could get a good finish on it. And Alvin knew how to do that. And he stuck it out and told me we got to do that tonight, and we did. So that was Alvin. He was a worker, and he knew how to do it. So and he was the upper level guy too. I mean, talk about working high. He did any of the work that needed to be done up high on the building. He painted the cross on our church one year and put up all the scaffolding and did the painting. I kind of I guess I consider myself almost a member of the family. I think of him as my little big brother. He and I shared the same birthday, so I'm celebrating my birthday today also. And he was 8 years older than me, so we would celebrate quite often together on our birthday. So I really appreciate and will miss Alvin. He was a great guy around us all the time. Thank you.
Yeah, I understand there'll be ice cream at the 4 o'clock, right? In celebration
right.
of birthdays. So homemade, no less.
Yes, Alvin was a big fan of ice cream, and as was I. And so Mary and I are making ice cream today. We're going to do that after this meeting, and have ice cream for all who will come to the Friends Center and celebrate his life this afternoon. So if you can make it, we'll have some for you.
Great. Thank you. And then Byron, are you able to share a story?
Just sort of a reminiscence. In the last, I don't know how many months I've been doing it, but I would call Alvin once or twice a month, and we would have these conversations about our various medical ailments, our desire to exercise, and Alvin up to very late, very close to the end, he would always walk around his neighborhood. And we would talk about how many times did he run around the block. And I would talk about my running. And then he would remind me about his inline skating, which I forgot about. Yeah. In that process, he would not only, I was sort of thinking of ministering to him, he was ministering back to me to talk about each other's family, what we're concerned about in terms of our health and so on. And that kept on all the way into the hospital when he was still able to manage his phone. We would do a little chat, and always he would want to know about how I'm doing and how my family's doing, my wife is doing. And it was a really nice cross relationship, and I really value that.
Thank you. Thank you. What a joy to be able to share those memories, those stories. And I know there's a gazillion more. You don't live 89 years, well, 89 minus a month or two, and not have the joy and love of family and friends. So again, I invite you to stay a little bit after if you'd like to be able to share. I'm gonna look to Pastor Greg to lead us in a time of prayer.
Well, I certainly learned a great deal. I always knew Alvin was a hard worker and never complained. And Sarah, your words about servitude and being a servant certainly reflected what I knew about Alvin and who he was. And that last picture, Alita, of him sitting in front of a butterfly is absolutely perfect. Life doesn't end, it changes. And that's what we're celebrating today, is that Alvin his life has simply changed. And we will miss him. We do miss him, but we carry a part of him in our hearts forever, as he has changed and been welcomed home to God's kingdom. Will you pray with me? Oh God, you gave us birth, and the two things that we share with all other life on earth is both birth and death. And we shrink before the mystery of that death this day. You gave us birth, and you're ever more ready to hear than we are often to pray. And so now in your grace, we do shrink before the mystery of death, and may we see the light of eternity. Speak to us once more of the solemn message of life and death, and we give thanks for the life that we shared with Alvin. Help us to live as those who are ready to die. And when our days are accomplished, enable us to die as those who go forth to live, so that living or dying, our life may be in you, and that nothing in life or death will ever separate us from the great love that we experience in Christ. You have shared with us the life of Alvin. Before he was ours, he was yours. And for all that Alvin has given to us to make us what we are, for that of him, which lives and grows in each of us, and for his life that in your love will never end, we give you thanks. And now we offer Alvin back into your arms. Comfort us in our loneliness, strengthen us in our weakness, and give us courage to face the future unafraid. Draw those of us who remain in life closer to one another and make us faithful to serve one another. And give us the strength to know and the peace and the joy that eternal life is ours through Christ our Lord. Amen.
I invite you as we conclude our service with a hymn, How Great Thou Art, sung by Sarah Fairfield. I invite you to enjoy this piece of music and then our benediction shared again by Pastor Greg. Let's share together in song.
Friends, thank you for being here, for sharing your memories. And now may the love of God sustain each and every one of us as we mourn Alvin's loss. May that same love and the courage with which he faced life give us strength to go forward in our lives and to face what we need to face, knowing that we are never disconnected from God or from those that we love. May the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. And the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. I will let this space open for a while if folks want to share, come off mute perhaps, and share. Not quite sure how's best because we still have about 40 people on here. So if you would like to share, raise your hand and I will give you the screen, so to speak. Or just come off mute and start talking. That'll work too. Don't forget our 4 o'clock in person this afternoon here on campus at the Friends Center. Thanks so much.
Pastor Sarah?
Yes, Agnes.
Hi, I'm on the beach at Waikiki and the service started at 7 o'clock here, so I missed the first 15 minutes. But I'm so grateful that this was done online because I really was sad that I was going to miss his celebration this afternoon. This was so beautiful, I want to tell you. And I loved the butterfly at the end also. So I just want to say thank you. I have to go join my family right now, but I'm so grateful that this was shared online. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have fun in Hawaii. Thank you for joining us.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Sarah, forgive me, I need to depart too, but I want to thank you for your generosity in letting me participate in this celebration. Alita, I will always remember your parents with great fondness, and I will miss them always. Thank you for inviting me to participate in this celebration of his life and his new life.
Thank you, Pastor Greg.
God bless, Pastor Greg.
Thank you so much. Sarah, enjoy that retirement.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
So Alita and Arlette and Arlen and Alan might have to remind me, why is it I wanted to stab your father with a fork? He would always tell me that I must have gotten upset with him sometime as a young child and I went after him with a fork.
Yes, you were sitting at the table and he always had the rule we had to at least try something, everything on the plate.
That would
and
have,
it was
that would have
something you
set
didn't
me off.
like. I don't remember what it was, but he was trying to make you eat it and you raised your fork.
Yeah, that would have done it. I remember sitting all day at one of my dad's prisoners at house because I refused to eat the peas on a plate. So I was there all day from lunch until they took me back for evening church. They must have taken the fork away from me, but okay. Yeah, because I remember every time we were together, he would tell that story. When we'd sit down for a meal, he'd go, oh, wait, does she have a fork? So yeah, it was one of the big jokes he and I shared in life.
Well, yeah, that made a big, you were very serious. I just wanted to say one thing. Uncle Bob, you shared about working that summer. I remember that. And what I also remember, you didn't mention it, but you didn't have your driver's license yet, and he was giving you driving lessons. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes, I remember very well. Those are harrowing moments for the whole family, I think.
I just want to say thanks to all the cousins that are here online, but I'm sure there's people watching on the YouTube too. But thank you so much. My dad really loved all of you so much. And it was special for me to send out cards with him for birthdays and anniversaries and things like that, because he would share stories that he remembered about each of you. And family was so important to him. So thank you for being here today.
Really glad to see you, Davin, too, and so many people that I haven't seen. It's just really great. Everyone's spread out so far, so to get together physically, this made it really a great way to be able to share and see so many people I haven't seen in a long time. And thanks to Pastor Sarah and everyone in Alita for putting this together. It was a lot of work, but this is really a good way to celebrate so many things. And my dad's birthday, Ken's birthday today.
I also want to say thank you very much for allowing us to participate this way and remembering Alvin. His calls every week at the last months that he was at home, we really counted on those, and we're glad to have him calling us here back in Iowa. Thank you to you, Alita, and to all the pastors, all the people who made this possible. We appreciate it very much. I also want to say that I think I was there at that first meeting. I know I was there at the first meeting when the Alvin and Ardith first met, and there was some piano playing and singing that went on even from that first meeting over at the McBride's. There was also a lot of singing and piano playing at featured dates. And I was a heckler. I was a little kid who didn't mind making people a little bit upset with me. So I appreciate they toughed it out and let me know them in these many years. My sister Ardith, and of course, wonderful Alvin. Thank you.
Part of the gift of this time is simply seeing faces, right? Seeing the faces of family and friends that haven't been able to be there.
Wait, I don't. Yeah,
Go ahead.
So
I'm on. Okay. I'd like to just remember Alvin. He was, and basically he became part of our family, the Nolte family. And sometimes in families, you stay separate a little bit, but he really became part of us and certainly celebrate his life all these years together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, folks, I think that perhaps it is time for us to say goodbye. If you'd like, come off mute and say goodbye one to another, and we will rejoin for those of us that are able to be here at 4. And for those of you who are not, we know your spirit and your presence will be a gift to us at that time as well. So thank you so much for being a part of this particular space. I will say I'm not sure what the recording will be in terms of music, since I wasn't hearing any of it. I don't know what that looks like, but I will go through the recording and the live and hope that the music will be there.
Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you, everyone. God bless.
I'm so glad to see you all.
Service.
Bye.
God.
You all.
And
Bye-bye.
Paula,
And
you.
Hi, Emmett,
Everybody, thanks.
Adam, Alvin.
And Alita, those photos that you put together and the eulogy were just wow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You were great, Alita.
I'm going to send you that picture, Uncle Bob. I've got it ready to send in an email to you, so you've got a copy.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
I was looking at those, Alita, and thought, wow, I don't even have half of those of them when they're young.
I will send the ones of your dad and my dad together. There's quite a few. I was surprised.
Yeah, and just some of the old ones of the family in general. They're wonderful, beautiful photos.
Yep.
Mhm.
I thought it was interesting through the life. As you were showing stuff, I was like, wait, there he looks like Uncle Don, and there he looks like my dad, and there he looks like
Yes, right. That's
those
right.
stern men. You all look. The only ones I can tell from a distance are you three youngest, because you just tower above them.
Yeah, that's right.
But even your faces, you just all look so much alike.
That's true.
Well, I just have to say, it's true. I was always very jealous that that Alvin would not hold me up like that, because I'm kind of like him. I loved heights, and I would have loved for him to lift me up, but no, that never happened.
I'm sure he tried.
I don't know. I think he knew that it would not be a good. It would probably be a fail. I was pretty.
I always wondered what your mom thought about that when she saw him doing that to Uncle Bob. Did she say, "Oh, I don't know if I want him watching my children"?
I don't know.
He was good with it.
Those photos scared the heck out of me.
Hearing the stories of what the at least male siblings did in that family, I am